I understand the next call is a split call. The Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I'd appreciate a ballot 1 minute if I could. Thank you, Mr Speaker. This is the result of a backroom deal by our Prime Minister done with vested interests. A dirty one, someone says here. The Auditor-General inquired into the probity of this arrangement. And I want to quote a couple of paragraphs from the Auditor-General report, because we heard continual misrepresentation, including by national members today, that it was all in order. The Auditor-General concluded in the report that was done by one of her deputies, the result was that one submitter was treated differently from others during the evaluation process. Only one bidder for this project knew that regulatory holidays were available. Only one bidder knew that the government was willing to change the laws so that they could get a break. No other bidder knew that, and that's why the Auditor-General concluded that this process was wrong. That fundamental error was never fixed, and we will never know whether the prospect of regulatory holidays had been conveyed to other bidders, whether we would have had others. There's lots of rumours around that Vector would have been interested in bidding. They face regulatory risk around the cost or the revenues that they get from their lines businesses. They may have been willing to subsidise a convention centre if they had certainty as to their revenue flows, if they had a regulatory change that took away their risks, in which this regulatory change being done for Sky City does. There's another really shady thing going in here. There's a pretence by National that they weren't warned. We know from the Auditor-General report, and again I'm reading it, Treasury noted that an important part of the standard PPP process was a market tender which provided assurance that the taxpayer was receiving value for money. Overall, the Treasury's comments suggested that officials should think about other, more conventional procurement approaches. The Treasury comments were referred to in an email of 12 November 2009 that went to DPMC from MED, because the Treasury comments went to MED, then MED to DPMC, and then the DPMC, in addition, wrote a briefing note to the Prime Minister. None of those documents have been disclosed. Are we such a corrupt country that we can't see what warnings were given by the government, by the civil service? I raised this very issue with Stephen Joyce when he was at Select Committee on estimates for Moby the other day. He said that they would be released in due course when the other documents were released. I checked today, they still haven't been disclosed because this seedy, underhand, irresponsible, disreputable deal is wrong. And these notes from the government departments to the government told them it was wrong. So in addition to all of the problems with this casino deal, and it is a casino deal, it's not a convention centre deal, this casino deal that results in a convention centre being built on the back of gambling harm, the government knew it was wrong for reasons other than gambling harm. Mr Speaker, New Zealand's reputation as being a transparent country free of corruption is tarnished by this deal, and that tarnish cannot be undone. I want to say a couple of other things. Mr Speaker, no Parliament can curb the sovereignty of a future Parliament. That means that future measures as to gambling, to remedy gambling harm, are always within the jurisdiction of a future Parliament. And we in the Labour Party say that we reserve the right to legislate for gambling harm in the future. That doesn't mean to say that that will be without cost to taxpayers, because this deal with the government effectively promises Sky City compensation in respect of some future steps by a government. And not all of that could be avoided by a future government, and despite the fact that future governments might want to go the whole hog and reverse everything, that would come at a cost. But make no mistake, future governments have a right to regulate for gambling harm. Mr Speaker, this reflects poorly upon the government, and I, for one, will be opposing it.
I call Jacinda Ardern.
Mr Speaker, thank you. I I rise and speak as a resident of Auckland.